Hi everybody, it's Kara. I actually made a couple cards last night and I wanted to share them with you. They were pretty simple to make. I actually got my inspiration for these cards from some videos that I saw as part of the stenciled class that Jennifer McGuire offered. I think it was like $10 maybe. And I always really like her classes. I've done, I think, one or two in the past. And I've only actually seen maybe a day and a half of the videos just because I had a little bit of a crazy week. And I got some inspiration from one of the videos on the first day for these cards. I think from a card that, if I remember correctly, it was Debbie Hughes made. And I need to get these cards out, and I thought I'd just show them to you really quickly, and then I will attach a how-to video to this one and show you guys how I made them. They were pretty quick, but again, I got the kind of technique and inspiration from those videos from that, or from one of those videos from that class. This card is a sympathy card. So the sentiment says, hold tight to memories for comfort, and then inside it just says, you're in my thoughts and prayers. Sympathy cards, for obvious reasons, are always, to me, kind of difficult to make. I like to keep them relatively simple. And then this one was just a happy birthday one, obviously, because I have a girlfriend that I am going to be seeing today, and I needed a card. And I created this one, again, using a stencil, and the inside just says, make a wish. I don't typically decorate the insides too terribly much. So here's just two different options using the same technique and layout for the card. And I will be back in just a second with the how-to video. Hi everyone, it's Kara, and I wanted to very quickly show you how I made those cards that you saw right before this how-to part of the video. So I have a little bit of natural light coming in, so I apologize for any shadowing, but I just kind of wanted to get this out there for you guys. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this Post-it tape to hold this cardstock panel in place. And this is some Nina Solar White. I'm not going to put a ton down because I'm going to have another piece that I use for the card. I'm going to keep it as much to the edge as possible. I usually make these panels just a little bit bigger than what I'm going to use on my card if I'm going to use the whole piece like you saw in those two first cards. And you'll see what I mean here in just a second. So then I'm going to place this across here approximately where I want the sentiment to be. And I usually take my little lined ruler and make sure that I've got that relatively evenly placed. Looks good. And then I'm going to use this stencil, which is one of the ones I used on one of the cards I showed you, and it is the mini flower piecing stencil from the Crafter's Workshop. I really like this one. I think it's a pretty cool stencil. I'm going to take that out and I'm going to kind of put it where I want it on this card panel, like so. And then I'm going to take a little bit more of that tape and hold this down wherever it looks like it needs it. And as you can see, I'm using quite a bit, but I do reuse this, so it works out just fine for me. And then I'm going to pick the ink colors, and I think this time I'll use maybe that same pretty color of green and how about that pink? We'll just kind of play around with those two colors. So that's Peacock Feathers and Picked Raspberry. And I'm going to take my little dauber out that I'm going to use. I'm going to start with the Picked Raspberry. Now you could use like a distress tool or something like that, but I find these little daubers better for me to get the color in, and I'm just going to basically start dabbing wherever I want the colors to be. And because I'm using two different colors for this particular card, I'm going to kind of space it out and put it, you know, in different areas of the stencil, leaving room for that other color. And you can kind of see that I do a little bit of a pushing and turning motion just because I want to get some really good solid color in there. And basically it's just all about now covering all of the openings where the stencil is. And getting it completely covered in the color that you like so. And as you can see, it doesn't take too terribly long. Obviously, the more intricate the stencil, probably the longer it'll take, because you might have to be a little bit more careful if you have some finer details on the stencil. And now I'm going to come in with the peacock feathers and another one of those little daubers and do the same thing. I'm going to do it in the side, and the color's going to, you know, run into each other a little bit, but that's not a big deal, at least not for me. I kind of like the way it looks when it kind of touches up against each other. And obviously, if your ink pad isn't somewhat juicy, it's going to be a little bit harder, because you want to get, at least I want to get, some good coverage from that ink. So obviously I'm hoping that this dauber's picking up quite a bit as I'm doing it. Just kind of look around and make sure I don't have any white areas, which I don't see right now. And then I'm just going to very carefully lift up the stencil, like so. And there's our really pretty stenciled image, and I'll pick up this little piece right here. You can see that there's a great spot right there for this sentiment. Now if you wanted to, of course, you could spritz on some water, some clear kind of glittery spray, that kind of thing, but I think that's just really pretty. You could use either one of these two colors underneath or another neutral if you want for your card base. And you know, once you add your sentiment and adhere it to the panel, you've pretty much got your card done. I'm going to trim it down slightly because, as you can see where the tape was, there's a little bit of area that's not stenciled. So I'll just cut those sides off, and that's pretty much it. Now I wanted to kind of show you, you can do more than just this type of thing with these stencils. So I have a couple cards I created. Here's one of them. This is that whole panel, and I just cut a teeny bit off the sides and then cut it in 3 evenly spaced pieces, put it on there, and added a couple of the little die cuts, and there's a really, I think, pretty card. And then I have this one. Those arrows are another stencil. Really love that. Both of these sentiments, by the way, believe in yourself and learn to swerve, are from Paper Smooches. Super cute. Another idea is to take the stencils, especially on like the smaller, the stencils that have like more fine detail, and die cut them like this one in little hearts or whatever other shape you want. And I have several other pieces that I have yet to put into cards, so I'll just show you those really quick. These are all done with distress inks. This is a houndstooth. That is Vintage Photo, I believe. And then here's a softer look to the same stencil, and that's the Antique Linen. And then I have this one, which was done in the Aged Mahogany, and I actually spritzed a little bit of water on there so you can kind of see that. And I'm going to take all 3 of these and create a really cute card with those. Let me see, I think I had a few more. All of those that I showed you were done with the distress inks, pretty simply, just like what I showed you right here. I do have a couple where I used some Versamark. This is the stencil, and I just dabbed on the Versamark ink, and I took my pan pastels to it. So these were both white. This was actually technically an oatmeal color. This was another Nina Solar White base like this one. And I just, instead of using ink, colored ink or distress ink, I used Versamark. And then I took my pan pastels over it, and the pan pastels stick to the Versamark and give you a really soft, pretty image. So I have those as well. So there's just a ton of things that you can do with your stencils. When I first started to get into them, I really thought of them as more part of my art journaling type of activity, and now I'm realizing that I really need to look at my supplies and see the other ways that I can use them, this one being one of them. So if you guys have any questions about this, leave them down below. And as always, I hope you're having a great day wherever you're at. Bye, everybody. Hi guys, I just wanted to really quickly show you the card that I finished up using that panel. And there it is, another Paper Smooches sentiment. I think it's really cute. Absolutely totally enjoy using these stencils, and what's better than stencils and sequins? So once again, guys, if you have any questions, leave them down below, and thanks so much for watching. Bye!